I just spoke to Paulie Gee, who was a software engineer for 30 years, who turned into an extremely successful restaurant owner, and he focuses on pizza. And we talk about the challenges and the path on how we got to the position he's in now. He shares his insights, and it was a great conversation. I hope you enjoy it. If you do, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can stay up to date on more videos like this. I hope you guys enjoy. How's it going?
It's going well.
It is a pleasure to meet you.
Right back at you.
Yeah, I am. I checked out a lot of the reviews on the pizza place that you own, and everywhere I go, great reviews. 4.8 out of 5, 9.2 out of 10. You're running a great establishment. You have a lot of great reviews, so it's a pleasure to have you on here. I'm honored just to have a conversation with you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you are the owner of the restaurant, right?
I am. I started it, the original one, 2010, in Greenpoint. I opened up a wood-fired spot, and after a while, I was doing well. I mean, there was things that led up to it that got me to the point to open up the place.
Yeah.
And we probably should talk about that. You could ask me about it, but once I opened and I had some success, I never wanted to open up another place. I didn't want to create another job for myself. I worked in the corporate world for 30 years. It's something I really wasn't enjoying, and I didn't want another job. But once we were somewhat successful, I feel I had some investors, friends, family. I felt I owed it to them to help expand it. But you can't be in more than one place at a time. So I decided to help others open up places instead, taking what I learned and give them an opportunity to do what I did. I learned, people ask me sometimes, oh, did the corporate world help you doing what you're doing now? And the answer is usually no. Okay. Usually the only thing the corporate world did was when they know they were going to downsize, they'd send you to some class that made you feel better about yourself before they kick you out the door. Right. But other than that, my wife and I were Amway distributors in the mid to late 90s. And I credit my ability to accomplish what I did with that, because although we didn't do a lot in Amway, the way the thing is structured is the people that introduce you to the organization want to do everything they possibly can to help you succeed. So they give you all kinds of positive attitude, books to read, and tapes to listen to, conferences to go to, where you see other people who succeeded. And through that, I learned the principles that allowed me to get the courage to open up my own business and,
And Amway is not related to the restaurant business, right?
No, not at all. It's a multi-level marketing business. In this case, it was products. They started out as a soap business, basically. They expanded, but and they lost their way in the 90s due to the internet. The internet changed everything for them. But what was important was they'd hold these conferences. I mean, I'd go to a conference and they'd have people come up and talk to you for a weekend about how they succeeded and made you feel good about what you were doing. They brought in celebrities. I remember seeing Muggsy Bogues from, I think he played for Charlotte, Sugar Ray Leonard, Lou Holtz, and they just got you to believe in yourself and to make commitments and move forward. And that's what helped me do what I did.
Got it.
So a part of that was, the structure of that was, you learn that by helping others, you help yourself. So that's when I decided to help others open up spots. I was a pizza enthusiast. I made a lot of pizza enthusiast friends, people who might want to open up their own businesses. And once I opened up my own, the word was out on the street that if they called me, I'd be very happy to help them in any way I could. I learned that because when I was looking to do something, I I went out and I met my pizza Yoda, a guy named Chris Bianco in Phoenix, Arizona. And he was a guy who was very successful. People really worshiped him for good reason. And he was just a very gregarious guy, outgoing. And I managed somehow, long story short, to meet with him at his place in Phoenix, Arizona. And we sat for an hour, my son and I, and we drank. Didn't remember much about what he said. Gave me a lot of good advice. He validated a lot of things that I was doing already in terms of what I want to do to open up a place. Should I make my own, fresh mozzarella? Should I get it from somebody else? Things like that. The only thing I really remembered was that when I thanked him profusely, and he said, "Paulie, don't thank me, just pay it forward." So
I love it.
after that, people would contact me, and I was always very happy to help them because I had an obligation to pay it forward. I said I would. You got to, there's two things you need to do to be successful in life. You need to believe what you want to accomplish. You can accomplish what you want to accomplish, and you got to commit to doing it. So,
So you had a great mentor, I guess.
I did. I had a lot of great mentors actually, because at the same time I was doing that, I went around to other people who were doing what I wanted to do. Had pizzerias and were successful at it. And I talked to them, and all of these people I went to, they were all, even though they knew that I might be opening up a pizzeria that could affect their business, they were all very encouraging, okay, and generous with their knowledge.
How do you go from the corporate world, and I think you were a software engineer, if I looked you up right? I think you were a software engineer.
Loosely you could call me that, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure it's more complicated than that, but loosely a corporate person in the corporate world, and then you go to first of all, what makes you want to open up a pizzeria, but also how do you do it? Like I think of myself if I were going to go open up a pizzeria, like I have no idea what I'm doing. The ingredients have to be spot on, the layout of the restaurant, how you promote the restaurant, the customer service, the business side of it. How do you do all of that? Like that's a hard thing to do. So how do you do all that? And why did you want to do it?
These days, let's unpack all of this, okay?
Yeah.
First of all, the reason I did it, okay, is because I kept on losing my job. I went out, I became a consultant. I couldn't find assignments, and it was just hell. I was doing something I wasn't suited for. I chose a career because it was supposed to be the future. But if you want to be a musician and you don't have that musical gene, you're gonna suck. Okay. And I chose a career that I didn't have the gene. I thought I did. And, I kept on finding myself in a place I didn't want to be. I kept on going from job to job, disappointing people. I think back now about how many times I disappointed people who thought, because I really pushed myself when they interviewed me and I went for this job. And then what they got from me was not really what they were hoping for. And it was just because I picked the wrong career. And eventually I just had to stop doing that. And finally, I just kept on thinking. Another thing that I got from Amway is they tell you, keep doing what you're doing. You got to keep getting what you get. And I didn't want to get what I was getting any longer. So, I drew upon my faith in God, and I took a risk. I look back over my life, and I believe in God. Don't ask me what God is because I can't describe God. I don't think anyone can. I don't think any one of us can comprehend God. But I know that when I reached out for God in my life, God helped me. Okay. And I got to the point where I had to do this, and it was a scary thing. The first thing I did was I had to prove to myself, like I said, that I could do what I wanted to do. I built an oven at home, and I started practicing. I started experimenting. And that's how I came up with all those things you asked about. But
you built an oven at home.
I did. Yeah, I found free oven plans on something called phonobravo.com. Okay, and it was fairly easy. I had a friend. The whole thing started with the business because I did learn again through Amway. When you work for somebody else, you work for somebody else's dreams. Okay. And I always wanted to have my own business. I just didn't know what it was going to be. You asked me why I chose pizza? Well, it started like this. I love to cook. People come to my house. I love to entertain them. It's what I thrive on all day. I'm sitting at work in the corporate world, being a software engineer. I'm dreaming about who I'm going to, serve pizza to and when I'm going to serve, not pizza. At first, it was just, cooking for them. So that was my passion. I loved it. So I decided that, people would say to me, you should open up a restaurant. I wasn't interested. It made my head spin thinking about it. I didn't think that it wouldn't be that hard because I'd have other people that could help me accomplish it, right? Have people working for me. I just made my head spin. But eventually I just had to do something. And a friend of mine came to me, and there was a place in New Jersey called La Peep. It was a franchise, originated out of Colorado, and it was a breakfast and lunch place. And he loved this place. He thought it was a great opportunity. There was only one in New Jersey, and he was kind of retiring from his own construction business. And he made a proposal to me. He said, "Listen, I will build you a restaurant, open up this La Peep, and you just got to pay me 5% of the gross." And I like that idea. I said, that sounds good to me. And we started looking for a place. And
that's before you had any experience running a restaurant.
Absolutely. I never worked in a restaurant in my life. The only time I worked in a restaurant in my life, okay, I worked at a snack stand, okay, back in a roller skating rink back in like 1969 or something. I got caught stuffing quarters in my pocket. I got fired. That was the end of that. Around the same time, I went to work for answering the phones at a takeout-only Italian restaurant in Brooklyn. And they hired me, and on a Friday night, I started working there. I spent more time talking to the customers than anything else. They fired me because I was tying up the lines, talking to them. I don't know if you noticed, but I like to talk a little bit, right?
So this guy gives you a deal. He'll build it for you, 5% gross, with no experience ever running a restaurant. You must be the greatest salesperson there ever existed.
No, I'm not. I'm not a salesperson at all. He'd come to my house and he saw how much I love to cook and do those things. And he was looking to create an asset for himself. He was looking for passive income. And, so he believed in me. Or I thought he believed in me. What he believed in was in La Peep. Because what happened was, you asked me why pizza, right? I never wanted to open up a restaurant because it seemed complicated. But I started observing as a pizza enthusiast, going to different places, that pizza was a far simpler process. You do everything during the day. You chop stuff up, right? You put it in pans, and at night you put it all together. You put it in the oven. Boom, that's it, right? So that emboldened me, and I started thinking, hey, you know what? I wouldn't mind having a pizzeria. Forget this La Peep thing. I like the La Peep thing because you could be home at night. But at this point, I said, you know what? Pizza, I'm going to enjoy making pizza. It's going to be like my life anyway, right? My family can come to the restaurant and visit me, right? So
you can't go wrong with pizza, no matter what.
No, you can't. You really can't. And that's what I did. I decided that I was going to open up a pizzeria, and I went out and I got these free oven plans, and I bought these fire bricks to start the process. Now, unbeknownst to me, my friend was very disappointed. I thought that he would just go and, okay, Paulie, we're going to build you a pizzeria now, and I'll take 5% of the gross. But he wasn't interested in that. As I said, I think he believed more in La Peep than in me, and I understand that. So he didn't invest in me, but he did help me build that oven. Okay, he had a passion, being an Italian American, he had a passion for masonry, like I had a passion for pizza, right? And he helped me build this oven, and that was 2007. And I started, it had to be done by Thanksgiving because my son was coming home from college. I challenged him to achieve great things, and he did. He went to the Air Force Academy. So he was very excited to see me doing this. And that's another important aspect of how I did this. I did this because I had something I had to show my children. I had to show my children what they were made of. And they saw if I was just some guy, a schlump in the corporate world, just, dragging my ass around, they're going to think maybe they're made out of that too. And I had a responsibility to let them know what kind of greatness they might have inside of them. Because we all have seeds of greatness within us, okay? And those, when I talk about God, God's not up in the sky somewhere. God's within all of us. That much I can tell you, okay? So he challenged me. He asked me how I was doing. He was very excited about me doing this pizzeria thing and about building the oven at that point. I was telling people, that's another thing that I learned through Amway. You got to speak things into existence. And when I started building the oven, I said, I'm going to open up a pizzeria. I told people, which, puts me on the spot. It's a lot harder to just not do it, right? Yeah. But as I said, you got to believe you can accomplish it too. Because if I'm building this oven and suddenly things are going sideways. The oven's not working right or whatever. I sign a lease in a restaurant. I'm trying to get it open, and I don't know if I could accomplish it. I may turn my tail and say, I'm going back to the corporate world where I have a steady income, right? So I had to have belief. So my son, he told me, I'm coming home for Thanksgiving, and you can't be talking shit here, Dad. You can't be telling people you're going to do this and don't do it. I'm bringing my friend home, and I want to have pizza out of that oven. So he motivated me to do that as well. Okay. So those were the things that got me to where I did. Thanksgiving, it was Thanksgiving Eve, a day or two before Thanksgiving. We got the first pies out of that oven. And then from there, I started experimenting, trying different topping combinations, different dough recipes.
And this was at your home. This was at your home?
Yes, this is my home. I lived in New Jersey at the time. I had a nice little piece of property. I built it outside and had a lot of fun doing it. I'd invite people every couple of weeks, experiment with them and, try different things out. And as I was doing that, unbeknownst to me, I wasn't thinking about what I was creating. I was creating an investor base because all my friends this is very important too. Once I built the oven, I was going to do this. I put together a business plan. And I went around. I lived in an affluent town in Jersey, and there were a lot of people there I met through my sons. I lived in a little cabin, okay? We lived in a nice little place, but we didn't live in the trophy homes that were prevalent throughout that town. So I got to know all of these people, and I got to the point where I took my business plan, I called them up, and I propositioned them. I said, I have this thing I want to talk to you about. And that's another thing I learned from Amway. When you're looking to build your organization in Amway, you have to find new people who are interested, right? So I took that same thing. I realized it's just a number. You used to have to talk to 15 people a month. That was your goal. Well, I had a goal to talk to X number of people to show them my business plan. And
did Amway teach you how to sell? Because I think you're zooming past this very important part, and I think you're not giving yourself enough credit that you had to sell your ass off. You have to sell.
Here's the thing. When I think of a salesman, I think of somebody who's just selling. Okay. Me, I'm just talking about what I want to accomplish and what I believe I can do. I don't feel like a salesman when I do that. A salesman is somebody who sells shoes. You know what I mean?
Yes, but
you know what I'm getting at?
You still have to project to the person, to whoever you're talking to, right? You have to project that you're passionate, that you have the ideas down. Like you have to,
Exactly.
you're not selling like when it's your own product, it's different. It's like you're selling your own idea. It's when you're just, selling
and
another
my
product.
ability to accomplish it, right?
Yeah.
And the ability to produce what, I'm offering them. And, so like you said, if you have that passion, they see that, they're willing to do that. But the people I went to, none of them invested with me. Okay. And they all had the same question for me. Question I hated. I hated answering it because I knew I didn't have the right answer. I was going to do this come hell or high water, and I didn't have any money. Okay. All I had was bills because what I did over the years, I decided that I'm not going to be able to go back and when my kids are 30 and say, we're going to go back in time, I'm going to teach you how to ski. Okay. I'm going to take you on this vacation, this beach vacation. We're going to go back to when you were 10 or 12. So I just kept on doing it anyway, spending more money than I had, putting it on credit cards, rolling credit cards into my mortgage. And now all I had was debt, right? So they were asking me what skin I had in the game. I hated the question. And my answer was always no. And they were never, not one of those people I went to who were casual acquaintances, not the kind of person I would have over for dinner, got involved. But these other people who came to my house and saw my passion, tasted my pizza, they eventually came along and did it. But I had to put the belief in them first. You know how I put the belief in them? After 2 years of making the pizza and inviting them, I started inviting bloggers, my pizza friends I made online, and they started, talking about my pizza tastings, and I built that up. But the thing that put the belief in them is I finally decided I'm doing this, and I signed a lease. I found a place here in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, and I signed that lease, and I said, if this goes sideways, God has helped me in the past. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to help. God will help me if I need to later. I have to take this chance because you have to take risks in life. I wasn't willing to take risks before that. So I opened the place.
And how old are you at this time?
56. When I
That goes to
signed the
show.
lease, I was 56.
That goes to show everyone that, I'm 30, right? It's like you can achieve greatness at any time in your life.
And that's why I love doing podcasts like this, because I want people to hear that. I want people to know that, because I know what it was like for me to be in my mid 50s and not knowing what my life was going to be like, and thinking that I may wind up in my son's basement. Okay. So that's very important. And I love when you see these things, Forbes 30 under 30, eaters, young Turks, whatever. How about 50 over 50? I always say that. How about 50 over 50? They'll put it out on Instagram or something. How about 50? And they never say a goddamn word. Okay. There was some people who put out some things. A couple of people called them second act, actually. Yahoo did one about 10 years ago. Jane Paulie did something very similar. She featured me on it, and a bunch of other people who, they reinvented themselves after the age of 50.
If you think about it, it's almost harder because as you get wiser and older, the whole theory is like you get more stuck in your ways, right? And like the younger people, I don't know. I don't know if that's a true thing or if that's just
It gets easier. It doesn't get harder, and I'll tell you why. Because as you get older, you're going to try to do things that you're most comfortable with, and you're not going to get the results. You're doing it, you're comfortable, but you got to get uncomfortable, make things happen. So as you go on, you get older and older. I did this 5 friggin' times, and I didn't get what I wanted. It's time for me to get uncomfortable, and you're just willing to get uncomfortable at that point and take that risk, so it becomes easier.
So it's a misconception that it becomes easier.
It does. Plus, you have wisdom that you've got too.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is you tried things your way and they didn't work. Okay, now it's time for me to get uncomfortable.
In the back of your head, did you know that? I mean, you had to know that you're a very smart person, that small businesses have a very low chance of success. And so what did you do? Like what did you do differently than the 95% of small businesses that made you successful?
Actually, I think it's 90%. I focused on the 10%. I looked at the 10% and got the belief that I could do it. Instead of looking at the 90% that failed, I said, if they could do it, I could do it. I went to other people who've done it, and they gave this guy, Mark Iacano, he opened up a pizzeria here in Brooklyn in the Carroll Gardens section called Lucala. Okay. He was in construction. Okay. Made marble countertop, fabricated marble countertop. So bought a place, but got a really good lease on a little place, worked himself on it for 2.5 years. And then he opened it up and literally, never went to any cooking schools, nothing like that at all. Literally within about a week, he had the most popular pizzeria in New York.
A week?
Literally. It's crazy.
I wish I could do that with this podcast. Huh? I wish I could have done that with this podcast in a week, the most popular podcast.
Whatever had happened, he caught lightning in a bottle, but he made it happen, and he took the chance, just like you're taking a chance with this podcast, right?
Yeah.
So that's, I got that belief, and that's where were we? Oh, so I opened up I signed a lease. Scariest moment of my life. I'm signing a lease. I'm committing to myself. I'm making a personal guarantee. They did not want to give me the lease unless I personally guaranteed it. Okay. I didn't understand a personal guarantee at the time. I'm saying, I'm going to have to pay this lease off for the 5 years of the option, the first 5 years. Where am I going to get that money? I have to declare bankruptcy. But I said, fuck it, excuse me. I'm going to do it. I have to do this. I'm going to do the work. What I didn't realize is, if you personally guarantee a lease, as long as you find somebody else to take it over, you're okay. But that's not easy either. But in any case, I decided I was going to do this. I found a space. I found the perfect space. I saw this neighborhood that I'm in right now is the best neighborhood in New York City. And I saw it before it was. And I wasn't going to let anybody get that space from me.
You have prime real estate. That is prime real estate you're in.
Well, I saw it coming. I wanted to be in Williamsburg. That was the place to be. I wanted to be where a lot of young people, things were, on the leading edge. But I couldn't. There were reasons I couldn't open up there. There were other people there already. Those people helped me, gave me advice when I went to them, like we talked about. The rent was high. And I found the next neighborhood. I looked at a place called Roberta's, who found the next neighborhood and opened up in Bushwick. All right. I said, well, if Roberta's did that, maybe I could find another neighborhood. And I came and I found Greenpoint. And all there was bars at that time. There were no restaurants or anything. But I just saw that it was going to grow into what it is today. And I said, that's it. I'm going to sign this lease. I told the land, I tracked down the owner of the space that I found, and I told him I want to rent the space. Not the best thing to do as a negotiator. Okay. All right. But I did, and I signed a lease that was a little onerous. The annual increases are double what they typically are. But I knew what I had, and I did it. It worked out. But the important thing that I wanted to get back to is how I got my investors. Okay. A lot of the people I went to, friends and family, they also said no. They wanted to know. Oh, by the way, I had to get skin in the game. So I went to my wife and I talked, and I said, we got to do this. I have to do this. I can't stand it anymore. I want to take out a home equity loan on whatever equity we had. Now I owed about 3 times as much as on my house as I did when we bought it in 1983, because I kept on rolling those credit cards into it, right? But we still had some equity because of inflation, and we lived in a nice town. So I took out a home equity loan. I used half of it to seed the business. I found 2 people who had come to my house, people I worked with actually, who wanted to invest in me, a significant amount of money too. I took half of that home equity money and their money, and I thought I had enough money to open up a restaurant. Believe me, I didn't. Not even freaking close, right? But so I did that, and people saw that, oh my God, he signed a lease. He's serious. I hired somebody to start doing construction. And all of a sudden, these people started coming around. You know what? I want to get in on this. I want to help you, Paulie. I want to do, and I got enough money to open up. It wasn't easy. I opened up for about half of what it takes to open up a place today. But I found a way. And that's, how I wound up where I am.
A lot of what I say is that if you want to get a start, you don't have to you think in baby steps. You don't have to think in like, you're not going to cross an ocean with one large stride. You take baby steps. And it seems like, from what your experience was, your baby steps, while it wasn't probably cheap, it was cheaper. You didn't open up the restaurant day one when you had this idea. First, you honed and perfected your pizza making. So you had your oven at the home. Do you credit the success of the restaurant because you took 2 years to really not invest a ton, but just perfect what you were trying to do? Like, without that time period, could you have opened up a successful restaurant?
It is a good chance it could have failed. It's a good chance I wouldn't have had enough money to do it. What it allowed me to do was build up a reputation for myself. Before I even opened up the restaurant, people in the pizza community knew who I was, and they were eager to try my pizza.
And it wasn't that expensive to do it. I mean, it wasn't cheap, but I'm saying it wasn't like hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that brick oven pizza, I would assume. So that was your baby step. I'm saying, like, that was
Which
your
part?
baby
The
step.
home part? The home part?
Yeah, at your home.
Oh yeah, the home part was nothing. I was going to buy an oven. I was going to pay somebody to build one for me. And, and I said, let me see how else I could do this. And I found these free oven plans. I bought, the materials were like $800. And I enlisted my friend's help. He was very helpful in building that oven. I never finished that part of the story. He was very helpful in doing that. And then I had this place where I could invite people to try it out. I didn't even have to do like a pop-up where I had to go to somebody's space and rent it out or whatever. I just did it on my home.
Yeah.
But the important part was I was more successful because people were anticipating me having this pizzeria. Did I perfect my pizza then? No. Okay.
Made more progress. You made more progress.
I did. Practice makes improvement. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. So how do you run now? You have this restaurant, it's going well. How do you run the business, and how does that progress? Like, I would assume in the beginning you're extremely involved. There's a lot of money at stake. You got your personal guarantee. I don't even entirely know everything what that means, but I would assume you're much more involved in the business. You start building it up. After time, owners maybe make the decision of, hey, let my manager take everything over from the day-to-day. I'll step back. How is your involvement progress? Because if you're running such an amazing establishment with amazing reviews everywhere you go, you have to be doing something really good. And what is that?
Not stepping away.
Got it.
Okay. First of all, when I first opened, I didn't know what I was doing. Never opened up a restaurant. I didn't know. But I found people who had. The guys that built my place, I got them to build it for a song. I don't want to say a song, but I found people, first of all, who were from this community, who were young, who were building places that young people wanted to go hang out in and eat at, right? I hired them. They had built a few restaurants and got the experience. They had worked in restaurants before that, right? So I got them to help me open and set up the front of house processes. I hired other people who had worked in kitchens before, who were helpful in setting up back of house, processes and prep lists and things that I never thought of, right? I might have figured them out on my own anyway. But so at first I had a lot of people had a lot of great experience that were able to help me. But I was still able to do it on the cheap. For instance, the guys that built the place, I paid them half in cash and half in equity in the business. I gave them a little bit of the business, right? The money, by the way, which we didn't talk about, I got friends and family and these guys and donating their skills. They put up 75% of the capital to open up the restaurant. Okay, I put up 25%. And today I own 80%. They own 20, and they're very happy, right? But going forward, as time went on, I didn't need to have people who were as experienced and just kept on going. But I was always there. I never wanted to open up a second restaurant because I knew you had to be there for it to be successful. I saw that, and I didn't want to try to run multiple places. But so to this day, I go to my wood-fired place. I'm there, and I interact with the guests. Okay, so that's a very important reason why it's successful. People see that and they like it. By the way, I wasn't aware of how much people would like that until I started reading my reviews. Right? But I did expand everything though, right? And it started again because I wanted to grow it, and I found other people who wanted to open up their own spots. I wound up putting together this legalese document that allowed other people to use my name and my processes. People were coming to me asking me for advice, and occasionally somebody would come to me. I felt that I needed to find other places in other cities that were like Greenpoint, up and coming areas, young people living there, moving there. And when somebody from a city like that contacted me, and I saw that they had the passion to do this, I would talk to them about doing it. And I found these people, and it took a long time for these places to open, but we got slammed in 4 places in 1 year. And so now, and the reason this works so well, and I like it so much, is that if I was to open up multiple places, I have to hire managers. Those managers I want them to have the same vision as me, right? So I have to instill my vision in them. They're not going to hang around. They're going to go. Now I have to hire somebody else. By allowing people to open up their own Paulie Gees, they own the business. They're going to treat that business the way I treat my business.
So it's a franchise, right?
Legally, yes, it's a franchise. I like to use the term licensing. It's
Got it.
a little nicer, but yeah, the lawyers kept on telling me, oh yeah, you got to form a franchise company, which was a pain in the ass. Okay, you have to have these franchise disclosure documents. You got to file them every year, but I did it. So that's where those other places came from. I'm still in Greenpoint doing my thing, and they're in their restaurants. Every one of these guys. Well, one place didn't make it, place in Miami, but these other 3 guys, every one of these guys are in their restaurant every night, just like I am to this day. And that's important. Now, I did open up another place. Okay. What happened was right around the same time as these places were starting to line up and open up in 2016, I was trying to expand next door in Greenpoint, right? My wood-fired place. And the guy next door kind of reneged on the deal. And I had a little bit of cash sitting there, profits that I'd accumulated to try to open it up. And I had stopped doing takeout pizza because you take Neapolitan pizza that's cooked in a very high high temperature oven, it very quickly gets ruined in a pizza box. A pizza box is a coffin to Neapolitan style pizza, right? So I stopped doing takeout. I knew I was leaving money on the table. People in the area kept on demanding it. So I got this brainstorm. I said, I can buy this place around the corner, this little slice shop, and I could serve New York style pizza just for takeout to recapture that business. And I started talking with the guy, and he said that he was interested in selling, but talk is cheap. Okay, actions speak louder than words. He kept on moving the goalpost on me, and I don't think he really was a decision maker. There must have been somebody else with money behind it. Another possibility was the landlord wanted to sell the building or something, or was going to redo it and did not want to offer a long-term lease to a new tenant. But for whatever reason, he was saying no. And finally, I had this idea in my head to open up this slice shop, and I got excited because I said, I can make it like a 50-year-old slice shop, the kind of slice shops that people went to in the 60s and 70s. So now I'm really excited about it. Finally, I said to the guy, look, if you're not going to sell to me, okay, I'm going to wind up doing this anyway. I'm going to find another place on this street, and it's going to affect you. So you really should sell to me. And he didn't. And I found another place, and a lot of money. And 29 months later, I opened up the slice shop. That was a lesson to be learned. I had told people time and time again that the way to do this, if you want to open up a place, find a place that's a restaurant already. Because when I got my place, it had been a restaurant, but it didn't have the city's designation as a restaurant. And there's a lot of things involved in accomplishing that. There's all kinds of inspections. Certain things got to be a certain way. And I realized that if you could go in and get a space from somebody else, it's a restaurant already, then you're golden. So I'd advise people to do that all the time. I said, find somebody who wants to sell, plant the seed in their head. Maybe, oh, I got somebody who's interested. Maybe I will sell. Maybe it's time to get out, right? And then I would say, better than that, find a place where the owner has abandoned it, right? The restaurant owner has abandoned it. Not a landlord stuck with all this equipment and everything's there. And he's just looking for a tenant. So I advise people to do that. And then I went ahead and I rented a space from a guy, who was just giving me a vanilla box. And I had to build out a restaurant. And it was a nightmare. 29 months and a lot of money. About almost three times as much as it cost me to open up the first place.
But it's doing well now?
It's doing great. It got us through the pandemic. It was doing very well. Pandemic came and, we were off a bit, but because it was pizza and because we were able to just do takeout, we continued to do that. People wanted to support us. They were very supportive. They saw that we had people working in there willing to work through COVID and risk, their health. And people were appreciative of that. We were appreciative of the healthcare workers. We were taking our pizza and we were giving it for free to all these healthcare workers. Even better than that, it was amazing. People would come to us and say, I want to feed these healthcare workers. I'm going to pay you. I want to support you by paying you for the pizza that I'm going to give for free to these healthcare workers. It was just an amazing, confluence of goodwill, not goodwill, but good deeds.
Well, yeah, good community coming together. You can't get that type of community collaboration or good deeds without having a good connection with the community. And so now if you were to take your place and then Pizza Hut, right? That's what corporations lack a lot. They lack the feeling of you're in the community. You're in the restaurant every day, it seems like. You have built a relationship with the community that a corporation can't. It's very hard for a corporation to do that. And you talk about
they have to form foundations and they got to go out and have to do outreach. And first of all, I made friends with all the business owners in the community. People are going to be my friends whether they like it or not. Really, I did that in the pizza community too. I made a lot of friends. I have no competitors. Every day I wear somebody else's Pizza hat. This is a place in Austin, Texas. And but in the community, I was there and and I supported them. I learned that from Chris Bianco. I asked him, it was always a puzzle. Do I make my own fresh mozzarella, right? Or do to get it from somebody else. What do I do? What's better? So I asked Chris. Chris was in Phoenix, Arizona, and he said to me, Paulie, I make my own fresh mozzarella. And the reason I do it is because I can't find good fresh mozzarella out here in Phoenix. No offense to Phoenix. And he said, if I were you, I always remember the way he says, if I were you and I was in New York, there's 100 guys who can make great fresh mozzarella. Get it from them, support them, and they'll support you. And so I go out of my way all the time to support my neighbors. Somebody opens up a new business, I'm all over it like white on rice, letting people know that they're open, and support them.
Was it seemed like you guys did really well, as good as you can during the pandemic, because you had a great community that all supported each other. But was that still the hardest time, you think, of running your business, was running it during COVID?
Yeah, it pretty much was. The other place I had to close twice. Getting people to work was rough. Just it was frustrating also because there were rules that were put upon us as restaurants that weren't being put upon other businesses, other locales.
Ridiculous,
Yeah,
ridiculous
I mean,
rules.
particularly in New York, we couldn't open at all. And when we opened, we were open at like a 25%. People right across the border in Nassau County, they were open at least 50%, all kinds of things. It was very emotionally frustrating. And there was a lot of stuff out being thrown out there. People didn't know what was real, what wasn't. Everybody likes to point to the science. It was just horrible. It became very political. That summer, 2020 was hard too because I'm very apolitical. I do not get involved in politics. I do not take sides. I stay away from it. And people were telling me that I should, and I lost friends over it. It was very emotionally upsetting. So I have to say, yeah, that was a really rough time.
So you're in the restaurant every day. Um, Started this when people in some industries are looking to retire. You make an amazing restaurant. You're expanding your business with franchisees and with little other shops that have a different spin on what pizza is. One's a restaurant, one's a slice shop. What gives you all the fuel to continue doing this? Because if you look, like, you're in the restaurant every day, it's not an easy thing to be doing. Restaurants fast paced. It's pleasing customers. You're doing a lot. What is the motivation and energy for you to continue driving forward and doing all this?
Well, I picked something that I loved anyway. This is what I used to do on the weekends. Do you need energy to get through a fun weekend? No. All right. And I also have help. You got to understand, when I opened up the second place, I took a page out of Danny Meyer's book. Danny Meyer opened up the Union Square Cafe, and it was the only restaurant he had for 10 years. He didn't want to open up another one because he understood that you have to have that attention, right? But he, again, like me, he felt he needed to expand. So he opened up a restaurant a couple of blocks away where he could walk to it and check on it. That was important. When I opened up the slice shop, I wasn't going to do it. The guy who runs the slice shop, his name is Drew Brown. I thank God for him because I went to somebody who I had steered consulting business to. He ran a slice shop. People would come to me, like I explained, right? And I could give them advice on opening up a business, but I couldn't give them specific advice on a slice shop because I never did it, right? So I gave him some really significant business, like international business, right? And he said, "Do you ever need any help from me, any advice? Come talk to me." Great. So when I finally decided I was going to do the slice shop, I called him up. I said, "I want to come talk to you." Okay. I went there, and I think I caught him at a bad time in the cycle of his business, and he wasn't very encouraging. He kind of made me go away with the tail between my legs, and I went back, and Drew Brown was working in my kitchen at the wood fireplace, and he was going to help me open up these slice shops, or a slice shop, not these slice shops, right? And I went back to him. I said, "Listen, I'm thinking about this. It's very hard. This guy's telling me all the troubles he has, and I tried to get information about how you make the pizza better, and he wasn't sharing it or whatever." And I said, "Maybe this isn't the right time to do this. I have to focus on helping these 4 places get open in 2016." And he said to me, he says, never mind that. We're going to open this place up. I will do whatever it takes. You don't have to worry about anything, right? And that was a beautiful thing, because although I know that he wasn't going to be able to do everything, it was like when my son said he was going to, let's get a dog, I'll walk the dog, yada, yada, yada. But I knew that if there was something I needed, he couldn't say no, right? So he gave me the confidence that we could get this thing done. I felt really good that I had him behind it with his energy and his commitment. And that helped me open up that second place. So now I have him, right? I have the second place. It's a couple of blocks away, but I rarely go over there. We used to live over it. That made it easier. But I know that he's running it, so that makes it easier. We just opened up a place in New Orleans. Okay. I never wanted to do that. All right. But as I had told you about finding a place that was a restaurant already, I was able to find, we found one, my guy Derek in Chicago, he found a place that was a restaurant already, and the same operator had opened up, it was a pizzeria, right, a Roman style pizzeria. That same operator opened up one in New Orleans, and I got wind of it, that it had closed. COVID really knocked me out of the box. And rather than me finding somebody to license it, I'd be giving away something very valuable. So I decided to find a way to manage it. So I'm managing that one remotely. Fortunately, I'm in a position now. I have a couple of people I feel really good about, but it's not easy to do it remotely. You got to be there. That's important.
Do you write down goals for yourself? Do you have, because you're doing all these things. Someone doesn't do all these things unless they have a clear vision of where they want to be and have clear goals. You don't just you don't just have no goals.
My wife is sitting here laughing.
So does that mean you do write goals down?
No, let me tell you something. Let me tell you one thing that human beings are horrible at: predicting the future. Okay. It's one thing to commit and speak something into existence, but if you try to predict what you're going to be doing in 5 years, things happen. But what, I do want, I have in my mind that I want to grow this thing, right? I want to find more people, but I don't know how many people I'm going to find. After we open up the first 4, I hadn't found another one. I still haven't found another one to open up. Maybe now, because I have people who are working in the slice shops. I decided that it's the slice shops that we're gonna expand, and not the wood fired, because takeout and delivery pizza is very important to your bottom line. And with Neapolitan pizza, I refused to. I did it during the pandemic because I had to. I wouldn't have been able to open up my wood fired place again if I didn't do takeout. I didn't want to do it because I had a slice shop right around the corner doing it. But but now I'm going ahead with slice shop. So I have some people who are interested in doing that. But I learned after these 5 years or whatever that you can't predict how many people you're gonna find. It's good to set that goal, but I had in Amway, to become a diamond distributor, you had to find 6 distributors who were successful, right? So I had these 6 peels, wooden peels that you put pizzas on. I had 6 of them that I was gonna, we're gonna open up 6 places, and I still have 2 of those peels, right? So yeah, setting goals is important, but at the same time, you gotta go with the flow and see what comes at you.
Yeah. Well, my metaphor is let's say you're a boat in the water and you don't have a rudder. You have a couple options. You can set a point to go forward, and in most cases, you're never going to hit that exact point. You're gonna hit a rock or some kind of blockade, and then you have to make a left, and then maybe you end up somewhere else. But at least you're moving forward with a motivation to go forward. Whereas if you have nothing to move you forward, you're just in a sea withering away, and it's like you don't have any drive to move forward. Doesn't mean you'll be there in 5 years. You could set a goal to be somewhere in 5 years, and you could be somewhere else, but you would have never gotten there if you didn't have that push to be in.
That's a great metaphor.
To drive that, drive forward. Let me ask you this, because I'm confused about this. Why is it that New York pizza is so much better than other areas? Why is New York pizza so good? I don't understand it. My thinking is it's the ingredients, and you have better ingredients in New York. But we have a big transportation system? Why can't we just transport
Well, they use the
ingredients?
same ingredients all over the place. Number one, I think I just came up with the answer as you were asking me, okay? Because I know it's there, right? But how many pizza places are there in New York? Many, many pizza places, thousands, right? So when some are good, they get this recognition. You're aware of them. There's a whole bunch of really bad pizza in New York, okay? Really bad pizza. But these other ones rise to the top and you become aware of them. So, there's so much of it that New York has this reputation. There's great pizza all over this country. Some of the greatest pizza around. I don't know where to start. I really don't. Portland, Oregon is great pizza. Austin, Texas. So, that's what it is. The people who use good ingredients and care for their product and are there, and that's
So it's similar to like mutual funds. Mutual funds, you initially look at it, right? And you see one that's performing out better than the market. But what I understand what's happening is they have let's say you have 100 mutual funds, 95% of them don't perform better than the market, so they stop using them, and you can't find them on the website anymore. And then only like 2 or 3 are left that are performing better than the market. It's only because you had so the couple ones that maybe it was because of luck or for some other reason actually outperformed. And now the only thing that you can see are the better ones.
yeah.
Maybe it's just New York had so much more competition. And to your point, there probably is some bad pizza.
Oh, there's a lot of bad pizza. There's a lot of bad pizza. All right. And it's not the water, please. It's not the water. But,
all right, Paulie. I appreciate you coming up. I'm gonna end off with this last question because I love to ask this, and I really am so curious to see what you have to say here. What are the 3 things that you would tell someone they should do if they want to become successful? What would be those three, regardless of what they do in their lives? What would be 3 things you would tell someone that you're mentoring to do to be successful in their lives?
the very first thing you do is you find somebody else who is successful at doing what you want to accomplish and get the belief into yourself that it can be accomplished. That's number one. Okay. I went around to many pizzerias and talked to them, and I saw and I observed that they did it. And it's really as if they could do it, I could do it. That you have to do that. And you have to be afraid. You can't be afraid to commit. Commitment is very powerful. A deadline is very powerful. If you just say, I'm going to get something done in the spring or whatever. But if you say, look, listen, we opened up our slice shop on May 18th in New Orleans. You know why we opened up on May 18th?
You set the deadline.
Exactly. And, when we're coming, oh, you sure we're going to open up this week? How are we going to do this? We're opening this week. We'll make it work. So you have to commit to things, and those things make things happen. Commitment and deadlines are very important. Those are the 2 things. Now you want pick something that you really love because you'll be successful at it. You'll do better than others because you're doing something that you enjoy. You talked about retire. Guys like me are thinking about retiring. I retired 11 years, 8 months, and 3 weeks ago. Okay? Pick something that you love and do it, and it won't be work, and you'll be happy.
I love how you know the exact date I need the exact time up the week.
Yeah, but I missed. I probably should. What's today's date? The 30th.
27th.
29th? Oh, 27th. Jimi Hendrix's birthday. Jimi Hendrix's birthday. I forget how old he would have been, but it's Jimi Hendrix's birthday. So, because 51 years ago on this date, 52 years ago on this date, I was in Madison Square Garden watching the Rolling Stones perform. Okay. For an encore, they did Jumpin' Jack Flash, and Tina Turner and Janis Joplin came out and sang. And I found out later that Jimi Hendrix was there in the dressing room, hanging out, celebrating his birthday. So, and I still have
That's some memory you got.
stuff like that's easy to remember, right? There's a lot of stuff I forget, but you gotta do something you love. That's just that's it.
Well,
the retirement thing, right? Today is the 27th. So we're open on the 9th, so that's 18 days. So it's 2 weeks and days.
That came to you pretty quick, though. Impressive. All right, Paulie. It was a pleasure to have you on. You're doing a lot of amazing things. The business is booming. You can't get better reviews. I don't know if you can pay for better reviews. I don't know about that.
I can give you a 1-star review. I got just yesterday. Okay. All right.
Yeah, but those are.
You got to address the problems. That's
true. Well, appreciate you coming on. Hope you have a good weekend.
You know how you have great employees?
Tell me.
You get rid of the ones who are not.
I like it.
Don't try to reinvent the wheel there. Where can people hear this podcast? What do I do?
It's on YouTube, and it's called The Hidden Doors Podcast with Chris and Fans on. So if you search that anywhere on Google search or YouTube, you'd find it.
So it won't be an audio only one on Apple Podcasts or anything like that?
No.
All right, good.
Yeah,
Everybody gets to see my adorable face.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
They have no choice. Oh, they can get away from the screen.
Yeah. All right. Is there any? You got to send me over anything that you want me to add in the post. If you have, a link. I know I'm going to share the link to your website, but anything else you want me to share, I'll add it to the post.
Yeah. I mean, just share the website link, and you send me something so that I can give me a link. Links don't work on Instagram, but I could just give me the name of it, and I will promote it for you.
Awesome. I appreciate that, Paulie.
Right.
Have a really good weekend. It was a pleasure talking with you.
Right back at you. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.